All right, breaking news coming in from the Supreme Court. The Mudgal hearing is, as we speak, on, and dramatic observations coming through. And it seems the name of Mahendra Singh Dhoni has been raised in Supreme Court. Questions were in fact raised regarding Mahendra Singh Dhoni, that he was also occupying important positions in the company, which is India Cements, as well as captaining the team, which is conflict of interest. Supreme Court has said, and I quote, it is a matter of concern. Now, for the first time, other than the BCCI, other than Mr. N. Srinivasan, names of players are coming to the fore, and the latest is none other that of the captain of Chennai Super Kings, Mahendra Singh Dhoni. The Supreme Court shortly back observed, and I'd like to take our viewers through the latest observation regarding Mahendra Singh Dhoni. The Supreme Court has said, the learned bench has said, that he was occupying important positions in the company. The company here, of course, being India Cements, as well as captaining the Chennai Super Kings team, which in itself is a conflict of interest. And the Supreme Court more so pointed out that this is a grave matter of concern. I'd like to immediately cut across to Jugal there. Jugal, dramatic developments taking place on the story at this juncture. For the first time, the learned bench, which is hearing the Mudgal report, other than the BCCI, other than Mr. N. Srinivasan, has talked about a player, namely none other than MS Dhoni here, and talked about a conflict of interest at play.
That's correct, Preeti. For the first time, perhaps, India's World Cup winning captain after Kapil Dev, that's Mahendra Singh Dhoni's name, has been heard in the courtroom premises. And the comment that the judges have made, that's Justice T.S. Thakur and Justice F.M.I. Khalifullah, they've said in as many words that his position is a matter of concern to them. It's an extremely significant statement that has come about. And Preeti, let's take our viewers back to a year or two, which is when Reeti Enterprises was also, questions were raised about Dhoni's close friend actually starting a company which signed him up, and after that Dhoni purchasing shares and then selling them in a matter of a month. Reeti was an enterprise which also controlled a lot of other cricketers. So then also the question was raised that as a captain, how can he have a stake in a company which controls other players and their clients? This is not the first time these questions have been raised, and now his position in India Cements has also come under the scanner. The court is making it absolutely clear. It says that it's a matter of concern. We are waiting for the hearing, more details to emanate.
Okay.
My colleague Ashish Mehrishi is inside, and these developments are coming in thick and fast. But yes, for our viewers, we can tell them that till now the matter which was being discussed about Gurunath Mayappan, Narayan Swamy Srinivasa and Sundar Raman today has a different dimension, that of India's World Cup winning captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Yes.
The court making it clear that his position is a matter of concern.
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting, Jugal, at this point of time, because till now the court had stuck to its decision of not allowing the name of players to be made public. Now, in this regard, in what context have they actually quoted the name of Mahendra Singh Dhoni? Well, we're just giving out the details there. We'd also like to get more information on that front. I'd like to immediately cut across in front of the BCCI. My colleague Rasesh Mandani is also joining us. Rasesh, it's quite interesting. All right, we seem to have lost our connect with Rasesh. We're going to try and re-establish that, but let me cut across to Jugal again on this developing story. Jugal, we've been pointing out that till now the Supreme Court has stuck to its decision of not revealing names, namely the names of the player number 2 and 3 have been in question. But now, just minutes back, the Supreme Court has questioned the role of MS Dhoni. Can you give us details in what context was this role questioned?
Well, Preeti, as of now, things are not as clear as they should be, for us at least, because our colleague Ashish Mehrishi is still inside as the hearing goes on. But what we understand from the messages that we've got from inside is that Mahendra Singh Dhoni's name came up during the hearing, which is when his position was also explained, that he has a stake in India Cements. He's a functionary of the company. He is, of course, the captain of Chennai Super Kings. And, that is when the court expressed that his position, given the kind of conflict of interest that it generates, that is spoken about, that has been spoken about in the past as well. It said that it is a matter of concern. Speaking about the role of the players per se, that Justice Mudgal's committee has examined, there is, of course, this aspect of individual number 2, individual number 3. There are several players beyond these two individuals also who've been probed. But for now, the demand of the petitioner still remains to be decided upon. The petitioner, Aditya Verma, has said that the entire report, including the names of these players who've been probed, be made public. The Supreme Court is yet to take a call. We do not know for now whether it is in that context or separately that Mahendra Singh Dhoni's name came up.
Yes, in whatever context it is explosive that the name of Mahendra Singh Dhoni has been brought out. Want to immediately take our viewers through this latest bit of news break that is emanating from the Supreme Court. The Apex Court just a short while back raised questions regarding Mahendra Singh Dhoni. The fact that he was occupying important positions in the company here, namely India Cements, as well as captaining the team of India Cements, which is Chennai Super Kings, which the Apex Court observed is in complete conflict of interest and is a matter of grave concern. This is what the Supreme Court has said. Explosive observations coming in. For the first time, we have a name of the captain of the Indian cricket team, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, as well as the captain of Chennai Super Kings, which has been named in the Supreme Court. I would like to bring in Mr. Hattangadi, former cricketer, who's with us from Ahmedabad at this point of time. Mr. Hattangadi, for the first time, and it's rather interesting, till now we've had the BCCI, we've had Mr. N. Srinivasan. All right, we have lost our connect with Mr. Hattangadi. We're going to try and re-establish that. But that is the latest bit of news break that we're going in at this point of time. Explosive, dramatic developments coming in from the Supreme Court. The latest that we are getting in at this point of time, right from the merry morning, 3 important developments have taken place. Number 1, the Supreme Court earlier today questioned about the team, about India Cements. They wanted the board of members, the names to be made public, and who decided on the formation of the team. Number 2, directly stating that why isn't the BCCI holding fresh elections, and once the fresh elections are held, a new board needs to be formed which needs to investigate the matter, and the operative line in that was that Mr. N. Srinivasan and others need to be kept away from the elections and from the investigations. Number 3, for the first time, is that the Supreme Court today has brought in the name, mentioned the name of current cricketer, MS Dhoni. In what context has this name been mentioned? Well, we're not very clear. We're going to try and get the latest on that. But I would like to quote the learned bench. The Apex Court just a short while back raised the name of Mahendra Singh Dhoni, said he was occupying important positions in the company as well as captaining the team, which is a conflict of interest and is a matter of grave concern. So 3 big dramatic observations. I'd like to immediately go across to our consulting editor, Boria Mazumdar. Boria, for the first time, other than the BCCI and Mr. N. Srinivasan, we have a name of a cricketer in the form of Mr. MS Dhoni. Can you give us the context that it has been raised?
You know, there are several layers to this, Preeti. The fact is, MS Dhoni's name was raised, and it was about time that it was. And everybody knew that, you know, MS Dhoni's name would be raised. I, for one, was sure that it had to come up, because there are several layers of conflict of interest related to MS Dhoni. 1, he's captain of India. 2, he's captain of Chennai Super Kings. There's an issue there. Srinivasan is board president. Srinivasan is managing director of Chennai Super Kings. You will remember that in Australia in 2012, 3 or 5 of the selectors had determined to throw Dhoni out as captain. It was Mr. Srinivasan who threw the rule book at them and said, as board president, I have the prerogative of deciding that you cannot do this. Mahendra Singh Dhoni also happens to be, you know, the vice president of Chennai Super Kings. Now, captain, management employee, vice president, captain of India, you know, has a stake in that management company, Reeti Sports, some of which who are also players of Chennai Super Kings. So at several layers, there are issues that have to be debated. Can Dhoni hold a stake in a management company? Can Dhoni be an employee of India Cements and continue to be captain of Chennai Super Kings and captain of India for that matter? We still don't know if his name will come up in other reasons, because in the first report of the Mudgal committee, Preeti,
yes,
you know that Mahendra Singh Dhoni had said he did not know Gurunath Mayappan, or rather, he did not meet Gurunath Mayappan on too many occasions. Question is he, because Harish Salve had said this in court in March, that was Mahendra Singh Dhoni lying under oath? I mean, yes, it's not a judicial commission. It does not constitute perjury, but morally, it's a very, very important concern that did the Indian captain actually not reveal the truth? If he did not, then why was he not revealing the truth? Who was he protecting? Why was he trying to protect Gurunath Mayappan? At whose behest was he trying to protect Gurunath Mayappan? These are some very, very important and probing concerns that will be raised and are being raised in the Supreme Court today. And Mahendra Singh Dhoni will have a lot of questions to answer, as will the BCCI.
You know, and that prompts me to my second question, Boria, because till now, right before this name was revealed, the Supreme Court had stuck to its decision to not allow naming of players. Now, are we looking at a can of worms coming out in the open? What about player number 2? What about player number 3? Are we looking at names coming out?
Has to. I mean, I've been saying this from day one. If a player has committed an act which is a wrongdoing, how can you save him? If Mahendra Singh Dhoni has actually tried to shield Gurunath Mayappan or has told the committee something that is perhaps not fully true or correct, why would you want to not, sort of bring out Mahendra Singh Dhoni's name out in the open? Take, for example, if player 2 and player 3 are guilty of any wrongdoing, isn't it contingent that they be pulled up for such wrong action? So it has to. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that whether it's player 2, player 3, player 4, at some point in time, players' names will come out. And if these players' names are big names, as we are assuming, like that of Mahendra Singh Dhoni, of course a can of worms will be opened. And if they are players of Chennai Super Kings, it will make Mr. Srinivasan's position that much more untenable. Because this whole conflict of interest, it's in layers. Think about it. Board president, Chennai Super Kings owner, PNCA president, employs the Indian captain, employs a number of players who play for the Indian team. Now, obviously, these players will have their loyalties to Mr. Srinivasan and to Gurunath Mayappan, who was team principal. Now, did they, accordingly under pressure, not reveal the entire truth? This conflict of interest question is mired in so many different levels and so many different layers that, it's just a matter of time before all of this unfolds and the Supreme Court passes a stringent order. From what I was reading from our court reporter, Supreme Court has already said that to the BCCI, why are you not holding elections?
Yes.
Why are you not allowing a new board to come and probe the whole charges? Does that mean that it is actually saying Srinivasan cannot participate in the electoral process? Does that mean that the Supreme Court wants a fresh board without Srinivasan to come and probe these charges?
Well, they've said that. But the Supreme Court, the learned bench has said that, Bore, and I'd like to quote the Supreme Court there, which have clearly stated that fresh elections need to take place, a fresh board needs to be put together for investigations, the likes of Mr. N. Srinivasan and others. There's no contextual names of what others means here, but the likes of Srinivasan and others need to be kept away.
Precisely, that is exactly what I was alluding to, that this is an observation, not an order. So we cannot say that, it's a definitive. But having said that, because it's the Supreme Court which is passing these observations, you have to say that it's basically telling the world and Mr. Srinivasan, it is time you give up this lust for power. That this has corrupted the edifice of Indian cricket for far too long. It's a signal to the 30-odd members of the BCCI that this stony silence is not helping anyone. I mean, all the political head honchos who are heads of the BCCI, even now they are quiet. Even now they are waiting for the directive of the Supreme Court, which for me is pathetic. I mean, ultimately we are talking about an institution called Indian cricket. We are talking about a gentlemanly game which needs to be protected at every cost. Now, the BCCI has twice deferred its AGM. It was supposed to be held on September 26th.
Yes.
It said, no, it will not be. It will be November 20th. Then it said, no, because Srinivasan cannot contest, it is being deferred to December 17th. So is the board trying to tell us, Preeti, and I think it is, that until and unless Mr. Srinivasan can contest, there will be no AGM. Now, that is ridiculous. That is absolutely not doable or understandable in any shape or form. So is the Supreme Court now telling the board that, unless you do it, we'll force you to do it? And this is the highest judiciary saying.
Yeah, Boria, nobody's here to define moral reference points for anyone there. But from here on, where we stand, with all these observations, scathing ones at that, made by the Supreme Court. These are observations. These are not orders. Orders will be passed on the evidence at hand. But on the basis of these observations, from here on, would it be right for the likes of Mahendra Singh Dhoni to turn away every time they are asked a question on the Mudgal report? Would it be right for Mr. N. Srinivasan to walk away every time a mic is shoved under his nose to ask pertinent question which he needs to answer, and other board members as well?
For me, the most important thing is, would it be right for these people to continue in their positions of power? Can it be right for Mr. Srinivasan to come to the working committee meeting as TNCA president and try and influence the board? Can it be right for the emergent working committee of the board to come out and say, Mr. Srinivasan is their choice of candidate for the president of the BCCI? I mean, is it possible that the president in exile asks to be reinstated anymore? If there is a word called propriety, if there is a word called ethics, if there are, anything left to the gentleman's game, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that these observations are good enough to tell the BCCI that the highest judiciary is telling you, repeatedly giving you an opportunity to get your house in order. And they're also saying, reading between the lines, if you don't get your house in order, we will force you to. Now, isn't that good enough reason for Mr. Srinivasan to stand down and say, let there be elections? After the elections, if charges are probed, if I come clean, there will be an opportunity for me to come back. But to hold on to power, to try and hold on to power forcibly and ask for reinstatement is perhaps not going to work anymore.
Appreciate you joining us, Borya. Do stay on with us. Jugal Purohit reporting from outside the Supreme Court and Ashish Merishi getting us the very latest developments emanating from inside the Supreme Court. Dramatic observations there. Once again, these are observations. These are not orders. Those will be passed on the basis of evidence at hand. But continuous coverage right here on the network. 3 dramatic developments have taken place since the morning as the hearing for the Mudgal report has resumed. Number 1, clearly the Supreme Court has asked what constitutes India's cements, who wanted the team CSK to be formed. Number 2, very clearly, once again stating that why isn't the BCCI holding fresh elections? A new board needs to be put in place, investigating the matter, and Srinivasan and others need to be put out. And the biggest explosive observation just came about 5 minutes back, with the name of Mahendra Singh Dhoni has now been brought out in the case of conflict of interest. Continuous coverage there. Borya Mazumdar, Jugal Purohit, gentlemen, do stay with us. Back in exactly 2 minutes.